Most people think retirement is about slowing down, taking it easy, doing less. But I think it might be the opposite. I think retirement is about becoming more of who you actually are. I spent over 30 years in the corporate world. I was quiet, calm, pragmatic, and always professional. And then I retired and I dyed my hair purple. In case it does not come across on camera, I now have a purple streak right here. Let me explain. Hi, my name's Melody, and today I want to talk about something that took me completely by surprise in retirement. Not the financial side, not the scheduling side, something deeper. The chance to figure out who you actually are when nobody's grading you anymore. In my working life, I use the language of my profession like a second language. Corporate speak, tech jargon, the vocabulary of meetings and deadlines and deliverables. And I was good at it. That language came naturally because I'd been speaking it for decades. But here's what I didn't realize at the time. That language wasn't just about how I communicated. It was a part of how I defined myself. I was the calm one, the pragmatic one, the person who kept things steady and professional no matter what was happening underneath. And that's not a complaint. That version of me was real. She got the work done. She was respected. She built a career and a life. But she also took up a very specific amount of space in the world. The amount that felt safe, appropriate, and professional. Have you ever noticed that? How the roles we play at work quietly become the roles we play everywhere? Now, here's something I started thinking about after I'd been retired for a while. There are really only two times in your life when you get to figure out who you are without it affecting your career. The first is when you're a teenager. You're experimenting, you're trying on identities, and you're figuring out what fits. And everybody expects that. Nobody judges a teenager for changing their mind every 6 months. The second time, it's retirement. After decades of being someone who had to be reliable, consistent, and predictable, suddenly you have room. Room for autonomy, room to explore parts of yourself that never got airtime because they weren't useful in a corporate setting, or they felt too personal, or too creative, or simply too much. I came across the work of Bronnie Ware. She's a hospice nurse who spent years with people at the end of their lives, and she recorded the most common regrets she heard. The number one regret, the one people said again and again, was this: I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. When I read that, I sat with it for a while because that's exactly what retirement gives you the chance to fix. You finally have the time and the freedom to close that gap between the life you lived and the life that was true to you. Now, I want to be clear about something. This isn't about throwing away who you were. I'm still calm. I'm still pragmatic. I still think through things before I act. Those traits served me well for 30 years, and they're still a part of who I am. What changed is that I'm layering on. I'm adding the parts of myself that never got their turn. During my working years, there was rarely space for my creative pursuits. Not just time, space, mental space, emotional space. The kind of room you need to let curiosity lead you somewhere without worrying about whether it's productive. Now I lean into those creative hobbies. I'm exploring an artistic side that I kept on a shelf for decades. And something else has changed too. I'm gradually changing my appearance. I'm taking up more space in the world, literally and figuratively. My new purple hair is part of that. It's a small thing, really. It's just hair, but it represents something bigger. It's me saying, I get to choose now. I get to decide how I show up, not a dress code, not a corporate norm, not what's appropriate or expected, just me. There's a researcher and author named Brené Brown who writes about authenticity and vulnerability. And she describes authenticity not as something you either have or you don't have, but as a practice, a daily choice to show up as yourself, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's new. I love that framing because it takes the pressure off. You don't have to arrive at some final version of yourself. You just have to practice being a little more you, a little more often. Now, you might be thinking, that's great, Melody, but I'm not a purple hair kind of person. And that's exactly the point. Your version of this doesn't have to look anything like mine. Maybe for you, it's joining a choir you've always wanted to sing in. Maybe it's writing, not to publish, just to see your own words on the page. Maybe it's saying what you actually think at the dinner table instead of what keeps things smooth. Maybe it's picking up a paintbrush or learning an instrument or finally wearing the bright colors you talked yourself out of. There's a psychologist named Abraham Maslow who created the hierarchy of needs. You've probably seen it. That pyramid with survival at the bottom and self-actualization, becoming everything you're capable of becoming, that sits at the very peak. It's hard to reach that place when you're worried about performance reviews and deadlines. But retirement gives you a shot at the very top of that pyramid. You've built the foundation. You've earned the stability. Now you get to climb. If you're retired or heading there and you feel like there's more of you that never got airtime, there is. And now you have the room to let it out. You don't have to change everything. You don't have to dye your hair. You just have to start listening to the parts of yourself that you set aside and let them have a turn. This is an amazing part of retirement that nobody talks about. Not the money, not the free time, the chance to become authentically, more fully, more honestly you. Thanks so much for spending time with me today. If this resonated with you, please consider liking and subscribing, and I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What's one thing you've always wanted to try that you've set aside? What's your version of purple hair? Until next time, take care and have fun on your retirement journey.